Hello, and welcome back to the fourth episode of my Survival FTB Infinity Expert Mode series. Our base is on the intersection of two rivers, making 4 chunks of land. I built here because I knew we were going to need a lot of clay balls early game to progress. We've now dug out the river bottom quite a bit, and I wanted to make the area look nicer, so I decided to turn the rivers into canals. As you can see, I already have one wall done, and I will show you how I built the other side. Although this world is modded, the retaining walls are built entirely with vanilla blocks, so you can follow along no matter what version of Minecraft you play. The first thing I do is smooth the edges of the river. I just break and place blocks here and there until I like how it looks. I kept the natural banks as much as possible, but in some places the river becomes too narrow or dries up completely. I tried to make it easy to navigate in a boat because they are kind of hard to control and break very easily. It will always look blocky because this is Minecraft, so I didn't spend too much time smoothing the banks. I chose to build with only wool and stone to make the gathering as painless as possible. You could use almost any materials though, and it would still look pretty cool. I think making murals with the glazed terracotta blocks would be beautiful. This project is going to require a lot of wool, so I rebuilt my sheep pens in Aroma's mining dimension. You can create a portal to this dimension once you find gold ore by crafting golden tools into a mining multi-tool and then using it to make the portal frames. Hold shift to crouch while going through the portal to teleport to the mining world. As the name implies, it contains all the ores from the overworld and is a great place to auto-mine. The terrain is mostly flat, with some ponds and the occasional lava pool. The dimension is set to peaceful, so no monsters ever spawn, but you can find all the passive farm animals here. With structures enabled, lots of villages will spawn and can be looted for many useful items early game. The villagers themselves also trade important items. In addition, the mining world is always set to daytime and the weather is always clear. So basically, Aroma's mining dimension is one of my favorite mods. It lets me move all the large, unsightly farms to a safe place. Initially, I was thinking about using a different color scheme for each district. The agricultural section could have brown and green retaining walls, the power district black and yellow, and the magic area could be blue and purple, for example. I didn't want to make this project too complicated for myself though, so I decided to go with the same pattern for everything. I used every color of wool except white, gray, black, and brown to make my rainbow. As long as you are using solid blocks, you can use any materials in any pattern that you'd like. I placed 3 blocks of each color in rainbow order along the bank, following the water line. I don't place any blocks on the inside corners because you won't be able to see them when the wall is done. When I add a new layer on top, I shift the pattern over by 1 block and repeat the process, creating the diagonal chunks of color. Again, this pattern is just what I wanted to make, and there is no wrong way to do this. The oldest known canals were built in Mesopotamia for irrigation. Historically, canals were of immense importance to commerce and the growth of civilizations. Transport over water was much more efficient and cost-effective for large cargoes than transport over land. They can also help with erosion and flood control. Competition from railways in the 1830s and roads in the 20th century made the smaller canals obsolete for most commercial transport, and they are now used for recreation. I've always loved how Venice, Italy looks, and I took inspiration from this city when designing my canals. Venice was built in a lagoon to give protection from land-based attacks. It is situated across a group of 118 small islands that are separated by canals and linked by over 400 bridges. To make foundations for buildings, they stacked water-resistant wood that sank into the mud and settled on the harder clay below. Unfortunately, Venice is currently sinking about 1 millimeter a year, and the Italian government is spending a lot of resources trying to save it. Luckily for us, flooding, erosion, and gravity aren't a problem in Minecraft. I decided to build the retaining wall 4 blocks tall, but you can build it whatever height you want. In front of the bottom row, 1 block above the water, I place a chiseled stone brick, a stone bottom slab, another chiseled stone brick, and then 3 more stone slabs. I only place them in the blocks directly touching the wool. I think this helps create the illusion of curves, but you can place slabs in the corners if you want to. I repeat this pattern across the bottom and top row of my wall, making sure the stone bricks line up. Between the chiseled stone bricks, I add 2 blocks of cobblestone wall, or wooden fences if you prefer, to create pillars in front of the wall. In previous Infinity playthroughs, I would dig a cave or build a giant rectangle skyscraper, then add rooms as we progressed. It was hard to organize with so many machines and farms in the same area, and I would find myself running from room to room trying to craft items. This time, I decided to build a city with unique structures for each form of production. I have learned that there is more to city planning than just making buildings. By adding infrastructure such as canals, roads, and streetlights, you can turn a group of buildings into a town. It helps to urbanize the wilderness and clearly defines the borders of your civilization. I place a cobblestone wall on top of each chiseled stone brick on the top row, and then fill in the rest of this layer with regular and chiseled stone bricks. Then I cover these blocks and the top row of wool with stone slabs. This creates a low wall that no one will accidentally fall off of, but you can still jump over it if needed. Under the wall, I place stone bricks to fill in the sides of the river. As I continue excavating sand, gravel, and clay from the riverbed, I can add more bricks and keep the river looking nice. I create a flat plane of dirt behind the top row of wool. You may want to use a different ground block depending on your biome. In general, the land will be higher than sea level with steep sloped banks to the river. By flattening this area, I can build structures much closer to the river and really get the most out of my waterfront properties. In an extreme hills, this will create a narrow walkway around the cliffs. In a swamp or plains, you may have to add a lot more blocks before you reach higher ground, or you could just use a lower wall in these regions. Once the dirt turns into grass blocks, I use bone meal to grow grass and flowers. You could plant a couple small trees here, or make paths and bushes along the edge. You will probably want to build one or more bridges across the channel. I used the DecoCraft workbench to make the pieces of my hanging bridge. I place the left and right anchors on each side, then use solid blocks to place the bridge sections against. I may add stone stairs and slabs around the bridge to create a solid-looking frame in the future, but for now this works. If you have a particularly wide river, you might want to add some support beams in the middle. There are already some good tutorials on bridge building in vanilla if you need them. You could also add stairs going down to the river for access, with a small dock to leave a boat in. I followed the river until I found a swampy area. Biomes of Plenty generate small, medium, and large lily pads in the water here. You have to break them with shears to get the lily pads to drop, but the good thing is that they don't break when boats pass over. I randomly placed them against the walls and planted some water artichoke seeds for variation. With the ocean update in 1.13, you can decorate the canal with kelp, seagrass, and cucumbers, and coral reef. You can also plant sugarcane directly in the water now. If you built along a naturally generated river, you may get salmon to spawn, or you can bring in fish manually with buckets to add some life. I hope you enjoyed the video and that you will join me for the next episode of Survival Infinity. I'll be building some automated storage in the next one. Thank you so much for watching, and have a great day.